Hi, and welcome to 9 to 42, the podcast from the team at the Guitar Show UK. Join us for interviews, updates and chat with artists, influencers and those that manufacture the gear that we love. Hello and welcome to 9 to 42, which, as you know, is the podcast from the guys at the Guitar Show UK. And my very good friend Jace Hunt is on screen. Jace, how the devil are you?
I'm very good, mate. How are you?
Do you know what? I'm all right. I've had a good day. I've been messing around with the CRM system, so anything I do from now on is the best part of my day, actually. What about yourself?
I've been looking at student numbers and capacities of classrooms. It's been absolutely fascinating.
Rock and roll.
Big spreadsheet in front of me.
Rock and roll. I think we better get in quick for our guest leaves on the back of that introduction. We are very pleased. It's 10 past 10. This is a late one for us because we're our guests from New York, and we're speaking to actor, author, and occasional bassist Frank Bello from Anthrax. How are you, Frank?
Hello, boys. How are you? And thank you. I have to say this. People don't know this over there. I've had internet problems today, so these boys were generous enough to, with their time, to wait a little while I yelled at my cable company. We got it back.
We used the time well. We were on reverb for a good 40 minutes. It wasn't an issue at all.
Time well spent. It's all good. Everybody's
not
happy.
Sponsored by Reverb, but Reverb, if you want to chuck in a bit of money for sponsorship, then it's still open to you. You can have that one for free. So Frank, we'll start with the question we tend to start with most. How's COVID been? Because obviously you're New York and you got it fairly hard, fairly quick, didn't you?
Yeah. It's look, I don't want to beat a dead horse, and no pun intended, but for me, I'm like everybody else. I'm just tired. I'm tired of it. Look, I have a family. I bring my son to school every day. I'm Mr. Mom. My wife is working upstairs. I'm in this basement. Dude, I live in this basement creating. This is where, but I want to play. Anthrax played 9 shows last year, and we were lucky to do that. Yeah. 9 like festival-size shows in America. And you know when you get the taste and you can't have more, like you want to do that next show. Yeah. I'm at that point now. We have a wonderful tour booked in Europe, and UK. I'm really hoping it really happens. It like really happens because we can say this right now. We can talk right now and be all ready for these shows. But that rug can be pulled out at any time, and we've had it. How many people have done? How many tours have been pulled already? Friends of mine are going on tour now, and they don't know if after the first show they're going to have the second show, and a lot of money could be lost. All that crazy stuff. I literally just had to pull off of Shiprocked, and that bums me out just because I have an autoimmune thing going, and it's a little dangerous right now to be in close proximity like that. That's straight from my doctor. I don't like canceling gigs, but that's life for now. So right now, creatively, it's great because I think it lends itself to an angry kind of writing. So I think that helps with the Anthrax record and my solo stuff that I'm working on. I think that it's giving it a nice edge. But I, like everybody else, I'm the same. Let's go. Let's move on. And when let's do this, please.
Yeah. Have you been writing a new Anthrax album? Because I was looking at it was 2016. The last album came out.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. And yeah, I promised my Anthrax's publicist that I wouldn't talk about this, but yes, I can say that, and it's in the works because she looks at all this stuff. She goes, "Why are you talking?" I said, "We're supposed to be quiet." Yes, we've been working. How about that? And we're very happy. But long story short, this is where it is. I mean, we did a bunch of these videos because it became very in to do all these videos and jamming with different band people. I did it all in this basement, so I feel like, look. I love being home, but I've been doing this a long time. I've never been home this amount of time. Nor do I want to. I love my family, but I don't want to be home this long. I want to play for as long as I can play on those stages. And I feel like this has taken a chunk out of that, and it really pisses me off. It really does. I mean, we're going into the 3rd year. This is like there's nobody to blame, right? But you say when, and you try to bite your tongue, right?
And I think Omicron kicked us all really hard, not because necessarily it's been any worse than the other strains, but that it hit so quick and it took hold so quickly.
Right. And Delta, I can just speak for myself, and I don't speak for anybody else, but I remember just getting over. All right, we hit the peak with Delta. I thought it was the peak, but then they said it felt like 2 days later, Omicron came in, and while Delta was still at the peak, it felt like we had both of them at the same time, and then Omicron just ate it up, because it was so contagious. And it's like, all right, when you get to breathe again, literally. I mean, my mom just got out of the hospital, literally, from COVID. She's got other ailments, but she had a minor heart attack while she had COVID. It was a terrible thing, and thank God she's okay now. And she had complications, but we just went through a rough ride. So I just see it firsthand. My neighbor across the street was in. This is when COVID first hit. Thank God he's okay now. He was in a coma for 3 months. My friend Tony across the street was in a coma on a ventilator where the doctors gave up. They said, "Look, it's last rites and all that stuff." And thankfully, he came through. So this is it's the real deal, man.
I was reading your book. I've not read all of it, but I've read some sections of it. And one of the things that really came across was how important your mum is to you. So that must have been really hard.
Yeah, family in general is really important to me because that's my foundation, where I grew up, and what's in all the other bull that's around with this whole music scene and fame and all that other stuff. It all comes back to family for me, and it's all really, that's where you'll end up. Let's face it. Who's going to be at your funeral? You know what I mean? Think about that stuff. It's like it comes around, man, and you can play the game like all this fanfare and all this fame and all this, what the music industry does and what that does. And I'm not into that whole game. I'm really into fame. I'm really into family. I'm really into knowing my family's secure. And my mom is very important to me. I lost my grandmother, who you read in the book, was very, very important to me. I grew up with her in that house. When my dad took off, I went to live with my grandmother because we had no money. And this is all in the book. Like the way I properly place the book right back.
Yeah. Apologies because it's audio only, but we'll describe how beautifully you've placed the book in the shot.
So just so you guys know,
we'll take a screenshot and share it as well.
I'm very lucky because Joel, who our mutual friend that organised this, actually sent me a signed copy of it.
Woo!
Look at that! I know.
We can get you guys.
I shall have to bring it to the September gig in 22 and get you to sign it as well.
Yes, and I will bring another.
Thank you, because I'm reading the PDF. So
I will bring you another, and we'll sign it and we'll get you.
Thank you.
Oh, of course, no worries.
Let's dive straight in with the book. Why now?
Great question. Joel MacGyver, my co-writer, we've known each other for quite a while, and Joel figured this out when the first email I approached him. I said maybe we should write a book. It was about, I think it was 8 years. He had the actual day because he's like that. The actual day we first started to talk about it took about 8 years for me to get a time off the road, and Joel, who's a busy writer, as you know, to get it together. And COVID, I was sitting right here in this seat and looking at the walls. How much writing can you do? And just feeling creative, but something else. And this was it. And I said, maybe this is the time. And I gave Joel a call, and it just worked out. His schedule was open, and we just started the sessions right then and there. It was awesome. And look, in this space right here, I've had a big box of tissues from some of the pain that I've gone through in my life with the trials and tribulations of my life, and got through it. And there was a lot of fun times with vodka and whiskey right here, talking about, because Joel is great for picking my head. He can start a line on a story because he knows where I've been. And it kind of lit the fuse of the story where my mouth would just keep going, and it just... And that's the vibe of the book. Is that the first thing I asked Joel when I wanted to do was I really wanted to feel like we're sitting at a pub, having a beer, having a pint or a cup of coffee, whatever you do, and just talking. And from the feedback I've been getting, the great messages and just the great comments I've been getting on this book, I'm very thankful, and great reviews, and I'm very thankful for that. It's been that. People say they feel like I'm talking with them, and that's what matters to me. It really feels good to hear that.
Yeah, well, there's two. I mean, the two things I would say that really struck me. One was that it's got a rhythm. It's got the rhythm of a story being told. That's really obvious while you're reading it. I think the other thing is it's brutally honest to the point of being raw.
Yeah, to be honest with you, man, I even called Joe that when we finally got, the finished product, and I read through it, I was really, really scared. I think I questioned my wife. I said, "Is this too much of me?" To be honest, then a lot of people say that when they write book, but this is so fucking raw. I'm always, even when I read some of it now, I'm like, wow, should I have said that? Should I put that out? Because that's a very personal thing. Some of these things are so personal. Like, I'll give you a case in point. One of the stories from the book is very personal to me that really hit hard, and really to relive this pain in my life was really tough. The part where my brother was murdered. My brother was 23 years old. He was murdered in the Bronx, New York, and we went through the trial. They had the alleged murderer, and we had to go through the Bronx criminal courts to relive that. And when I tell you this, guys, I had a big box of tissues going through that, and it tells you, the book takes you through the whole process again of showing up, finding out that my brother was murdered by my Uncle Charlie, who's in my band Anthrax. He came to my house screaming, and he drove me down to the murder scene. And if you guys have ever seen Law and Order or any shows like that, it was very much a scene like that. You don't want really to live this, but that's what it was. Where cops, ambulances, fire trucks, people everywhere around, and seeing a person with a sheet on top of them. That person was my brother. It doesn't penetrate, but you know what made me penetrate? It made it penetrate when I saw his shoes that weren't covered. His brand new shoes that he just bought, that he's very proud of, with blood on them. Yeah. And that still is a scar. And I said this in other interviews, but it's very real. And I questioned if I should have took people through that play by play on that, to see, like, right after, I remember seeing my brother on the floor and just completely you just lose it. You're empty. It just guts you. And then I look over to my right, and then it's just my mom standing there, who I didn't know was there yet. And it just felt like there's nobody around her. I guess my other family members were around there, but I didn't see them. It seemed like a glow to me around there. Like, she just glowed to me because she was so alone. It was so desperate, and I don't wish this on anybody. But when I talk about this scene, specifically something like that, and then I take people through the courts about how the alleged murderer and his family and friends tried to intimidate, allegedly. I have to say everything alleged legally. So it was a bad scene. It was a bad scene. But I wondered if I should have put that out there. But what I'm getting back is people are connecting with it, and that is more important to me than anything. Is they're getting it, they're understanding it. That feeling of loss. There's a lot of people that are writing me on this about their loss. So we're connecting on that, and it's almost like we're soothing each other. You know what I mean? It's almost like a soothing thing. And another part about the book is abandonment. When my dad took off at 10, I was 10 years old, and I was the oldest of a family of 5. I can't tell you the amount of comments and letters I'm getting from people talking about abandonment and their story and how they're connecting with it. And we're kind of soothing each other on this. And so if the book, I don't want to call it a self-help book, but if it could help anybody, if I can helps one person, man, it's all good, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things is, because unlike Ant, I have read the whole book. He's just lazy.
Thank you.
Not a competition.
One of the things that I've written down is that, because there are, like you say, some significant moments in the book, that the abandonment, the murder, and so on. And I just wonder whether throughout the whole thing, I always felt that Anthrax had been your savior in all of this.
Great point, my friend. Great point. Anthrax, and I'm very, very thankful and humbled from Anthrax, because it's always given me, since 17 years old. I got in the band at 17 years old. I'm 56 now, so it's been a good run. it's always been my outlet for pain. It's always been anxiety, anything it would be my escape. It really is my escape. Music in general is my outlet. But to have this great band that I'm in, that I'm very proud of, that we've been together since kids, it's always been my outlet. Specifically around that time, when that horrible circumstance happened way back in '96, these guys rallied around me, my band, and they're my brothers. I love them for it. And they loved Anthony, my brother Anthony. They all really understood where I was. And we did a tour. We had a Japanese, I say this in the book, we had a Japanese tour booked 3 weeks after the murder, where I was in no frame of mind to do. And I was going to pull out. And then I remember my mom saying, you should do it. And I know my brother Anthony would want me to do it because he was a big fan and he wouldn't want to see anything derail what we were doing. People would have lost a lot of money, promoters, a crew. It didn't make sense not to do it. So all I asked the guys and my manager, I said, just one thing I asked, just let me go into my room and just let me cry.
Yeah.
And when it's showtime, I'll come out, we'll do the show, just let me go back and cry. And so I wrote this song. It's called Pieces. It's actually on this, it's on a record called Volume 8 from Anthrax. It's a hidden track on the record, Volume 8. So if you hear that, the last song on that record, it's called Pieces, and it's a song to my brother Anthony. It's about saying goodbye, and I wrote it in Japan while I was crying, and that's my goodbye to him. And people have written more about anything, that song, about connecting with that song, about their loss. They're connecting with it, and they say it soothes them. So there you go again with music, really being the outlet and helping you through the anguish of life.
I was going to say, I mean, you said you don't know whether you put too much of yourself in there, whether certain things you should or you shouldn't have said. I guess the only person who can answer that is you, because at the end of the day, yeah, if it feels right to you, then it's right.
It's exactly what I said after reading the draft. After numerous conversations with my mom, my wife, more my wife, and then my mom, I said, "Are you okay with this?" And she was good with it. And for me, it was cleansing. It was really cathartic. Yeah. It was really cathartic to get it out. And after the fact, just from hearing so many people from this book and the reviews and all the great stuff that's happened with it, I'm very proud of that. I'm very humbled from it. Then, yeah, now I feel I'm so glad I went. I wasn't afraid. I wasn't afraid. And I'll tell you, man, one of the reasons why that opened the door for me on this and the gate, and I told him, I said this in another interview one time, and it got blown up pretty good. I saw this interview with my bud James Hetfield, and it was a film called Absent. It was he did an interview, and he talked about his thing with abandonment, and it really made me see clear that it was okay to talk about and open up even more than I thought I was going to open up. So by him opening up so much, it made me feel like, okay, it's okay to do that. I mean, it looked good when James did it, and you could see it felt good for him to open up like that. So it kind of convinced me to open and just let it out. And when I did, it really felt good.
I'll ask one more question, because I know Jason wants to jump in, particularly about that picture behind your head. But
are we talking Kiss?
We may well be.
Wasn't what I was going to say, but I'm quite happy to talk about Kiss for the rest of the night.
And everybody who listens to this podcast knows how Jason feels about Kiss, and that's all fine. The question I'm going to ask before we go is: so you're 56.
Yes.
Okay. Are you dyeing that hair then? Because there's no grey there at all.
I am. Oh, dude, look at the sides.
All right, okay, all right then. Just checking. Because I started going grey in my mid-30s.
I have thought about dyeing it purple.
Ah.
Why not? What does it matter? I'm in my fucking basement. What else do I have to do, right? I saw this cool color. I was out shopping with my wife the other day. I saw this cool color. I said, I should just dye my hair purple. I'll stay in my basement. It doesn't matter anymore, really. Just do what you want to do.
I'm just jealous of how little grey you've got.
Well, it'll get there, believe me. When this whole thing is usually gray. Well, it's salt and pepper now. Right. That's what's going
See, that frustrates me because mine's ginger. I've got grey hair, but I've still got this ginger thing in my stubble.
Wait, you have salt and pepper going?
Yeah,
now,
well,
right?
a little bit. But if you were here now, you'd realise there's bits of, and I've got no problem with ginger.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Just clear that up, right?
No problem with ginger, but not just there. If I'm gonna own ginger, I want the whole lot. If I'm going to be ginger, I want to be ginger, right? Not just bits.
Have you had long hair?
Not for a long, long time. I did have long hair when I was at university, yeah. But then, because I couldn't play the guitar, I ended up, and I went into retail. It had to go. But grey really early, the mid-30s, it started to go.
Oh, it's terrible.
I just deal with it, and whatever's going to happen.
Deal with it? You haven't got any. What do you mean deal with it?
Well, that's because of the lighting in here.
Right, okay. Wow. In which case, send me your lighting plan. I'll do that for the next one.
This lighting is like literally. I don't have it. The light. I bought one of those things for when you do selfies and stuff. I don't even have it on. I have these. These are my basement lights that are on the top.
Jace, he's fast becoming my least favourite guest. Just move on.
All I was going to say, really, and I hate myself for saying this because Joel McIver is a massive cock, and I'm saying that because I know he's going to listen to this, is that Joel wouldn't let you put anything in the book that he didn't think shouldn't go in the book. Because as much as I fucking hate saying this, he's a really good writer.
He's great. He's a great writer, and he's a confidant. He's very easy to talk to. And let me tell you this. I bounced a lot of things off of him and just said, how does this work, man? How does it sound coming out of my mouth? Does that sound, because I don't want to sound arrogant. I didn't want to sound angry. I was angry in a lot of these circumstances. I want to make sure I'm not scaring the reader because I just want to talk to you, but I also want you to feel the pain that was going through that circumstance and that time. And I think we got there. But I always bounced it off of Joel the way I said it, and it was important because it was a very natural conversation. The whole writing of the book is a bounce back and forth, and once he just let me go, it was really writing monologues. It was kind of fun just to get it all out. It's like, and I remember just finishing the sessions for the day. I went back upstairs and just poured a drink. I said, that was fucking, just like a relaxed vibe. I got that part done. Mm. It really felt good.
I mean, there was a couple of bits that I thought that there's genuine anger there, but it was completely appropriate to what you were talking about. And that's the point. I think every emotion that I came across, the bits I've read, and I say I'm not, as Jason's pointed out, I've not read it all. But but the emotions were appropriate to what I was reading.
Yeah, because I wanted you to feel like that too. I think that was important. I wanted you to crawl in my skin, really. I mean, just put yourself in my place, and how would you feel in this circumstance? And look, but again, and we can go to the other side. And I know you want to get here because we looked at the picture in the back of me.
It's Jason, not me. He can't help himself.
There's a lot of great. Look, I'm going to be honest. You guys probably know this by now. Kiss was a very big deal to me in my lifetime. It still is, to be honest. It was when I was looking for validation and just heroes to look up to, really, because there's no, like you guys know, there's no father figure. So you look to, who can you look up to? Who do you want to aspire to be like? When I saw Kiss for the first time, man, I said, that is what I want to do. And that was it, straight out. I said, how do I get there? How do I get on stage and do that? That convinced me. And then my heroes, the bass players that I grew up with, Geddy, Steve Harris, Geezer, those became my bass heroes. And it made me look forward to something. You know what I mean? It made me look forward instead of, what happens in the abandonment zone, you get this emptiness. It's like a pit. It's like an endless pit in your gut, man. And you're looking to fill it. And you don't understand things. I mean, 10 years old, I didn't understand what happened. And I was just like, all right, but who can fill this bad feeling I have? What makes me feel better? And how do I soothe myself? And the outlet of music, specifically Kiss. And it all made sense. It all started making sense where I can just gear and just focus. And that was a tunnel vision thing after that. It was so tunnel vision. I said, I will get on stage. I will learn how to play, and I will try to put on a great show. And it still inspires me. I've been watching a lot of old Kiss lately, guys. A lot of old Kiss stuff. There's a lot of great stuff on YouTube. People send me stuff. Those guys, you know what? They deserve everything. They've earned everything they have. I mean, from where they started. I look at them now. I'm looking at a picture of Kiss. Let me just show you this picture of my friend. Actually, he's my cousin's. Can you see that?
Wow.
Isn't that a cool thing?
Yeah.
My buddy Anthony Minetti made that. It's awesome. I still haven't hung it in the right place I wanted to yet, but it still inspires me when I see that. When I see pictures of them, to know their journey. And again, not even to go back to the book, but I'm going to go back to the book. To have Gene Simmons write the foreword to my book, you have to understand how special that was. When Joel actually told me it was going through, and I really didn't believe it until it was done.
Yeah.
And when it was done, and then when I read it, and how from the heart Gene came from, which I never look. I've been a fan of Gene Simmons for a long time. I've read a lot of his interviews. I mean, most interviews. I've never heard him speak like that because it was straight from his heart. I've met his mom. She was God rest her soul. She was a beautiful, beautiful person. But he spoke about his dad in my forward. I've never seen that before. And I was very, it was so heartfelt. It was so heartfelt from Gene. And I thank him for that. I really thank him for going so deep because it was really deep for me. And I could still read that now. I've never heard him talk like that. So, I'm honored to have him in the book.
Sorry, one thing, Jason.
This is my bit now. We're on Kiss. Fuck off.
I was just about to be nice to you.
Oh,
I was just about to say, because, I mean, I'm a few years younger than Jace. Not many, just a few.
It doesn't look that way, does it?
Yeah, there's sharper focus on my camera. You just need a better webcam. And I just missed the Kiss thing, and and it's very similar with Bowie as well. I just missed Bowie as well. I was the wrong age for both of them.
I get it.
And it's a shame because for people, who did go through it, it's very, very special to you. And I see that. And the number of times, and yes, I know he jokes, it comes up on the podcast quite a lot, but everybody we've ever spoken to about Kiss and everybody I've ever spoken to, particularly about Bowie, it's a really special thing for them. And I actually feel a little bit like I was 3 or 4 years out of sync because by the time you go back to it, but it's not the same.
I understand that. I call it magic time. It was a magical time. It was everything. It was before MTV. It was before all this, where you can actually listen to a song and get into the band. And there was this whole makeup thing that was. I remember when I opened Kiss Alive. I remember I saw in Charlie Benanti, the drummer of my band. We grew up together in the same house. I remember he got Kiss Alive, and I saw it. He opened it up and he put the record on, and I said, yeah, I couldn't. I was trying to figure out who sang, who played. Everything was just like all this magical stuff, and it took me away. And I'm telling you, that's exactly what happened. It took me away from all the pain. Everything was fine, and it put me in this bubble. In this great Kiss bubble. And all the music was great. Zapp, all that stuff. Bowie was awesome. But I love Bowie. I wish I could have been into Bowie back then the way I was into Kiss. Because now I am into Bowie like that because I missed how great he really was, and he is. And I listened to. Thankfully, we have all that great music. But yeah, I understand where you're at with the Bowie thing. But Kiss, I lived it, it was part of us. It literally was part of our upbringing. It was our best friend, our go-to guy, our go-to band.
You see, me and my mates were so envious because like Kiss didn't come to the UK very often. The first album I actually saw was Alive 2, and you get the gate because obviously it's a record because it's like, for me, it was the very early 80s, and you open up that 24-inch by 12-inch, and you look at that, and I just remember going, God, that's what I want to do the rest of my life. That looks amazing.
Exactly.
The next tour that I could go to, and I was only 13, was the Lick It Up tour, which obviously the makeup's come off, and they're not playing anything like decent sized venues or anything. So they've brought the tank over, but that's it, sort of thing. And then they kind of build up, and we get the peak of Crazy Crazy Nights, and they're playing arenas again and stuff like that. But they're still not coming very often. So when they did the Garden for the end of the road tour, March, oh God, 3 years ago, is it now?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Me and my mate flew over
Great.
and went to the Garden and had just like the best week. We went for a week. We went for one gig and we went for a week. And it was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. We went down to, what was CBGB, and, we did that whole sort of thing. And it's like, at the time might have been 49, Paul would have been 52. And we were just like, we were still like little teenagers inside. Like, we're seeing Kiss at the Garden. This is amazing. And they were fantastic. Given that they're like 70 years old, they're incredible.
It's inspiring. It's inspiring that those guys are able to get on the stage and put on that kind of show, regardless of what you think about Kiss. I'm just saying, as a human being, 70, the guys are in their 70s and still kicking ass. And you have to tip your hat. It inspires me. I hope I get to 70. I hope I can be playing on a stage somewhere, right? I just look. It's a great human thing that they were able to do that. Yeah, there's money and all that great stuff, but it's still, they're putting on who else is putting on a show like Kiss? Think about that. Yeah. Nobody, really. No. That kind of show, it's pretty insane. So, yeah, I mean, it's funny you mentioned CBs. I just did this whole thing for the book where I went to different parts of my upbringing that are in the book, and I did little video segments of each scene, CBs. And there was one I'll go back to. This is all in the book. I have to say this for the Kiss fan here. Back in the day of those magical times, there was. I'm a New Yorker. I lived in the Bronx, New York. Grew up born and raised in the Bronx, New York. Manhattan was about a 25-minute bus ride to the city. My friend Tom and we would go downtown and meet them at their management. And it was you talk about magical time. Now, having Kiss in your life was a magical time, 14, 15 years old. Oh, my God, right? To get to go downtown and find out they're having a meeting at their management and waiting, you can call it stalking, waiting in front of their management. We waited, and I'm talking about like January, February weather, like where you're freezing your balls off. You talk about dedication. We waited out freezing. So these guys, we didn't know what they looked like back then because they would never photograph without makeup. Yeah. So you would see these like 6 foot plus guys with big 7-inch heels on. It was insane back then. Long hair, and they would come up, and we knew it was them because they're the only guys looking like that. And we got to know these guys, and Gene would just say to me after a while, you say, my name's Frank. And he goes, what's your last name? Frank Bello? Okay, so he would just go, Frank Bello, how do you know we're here all the time? I want to know why, and who's your contact info that you know that we're here? And he would just ask questions all the time. And he'd be on to us that my friend Tom had an in with the management. So I don't know what in it was, but he got a call. They have a meeting today. We cut out of school. We fly downtown and just wait for them and ask them a zillion Kiss questions. That's what we do. It was a great time.
There's that great story where you actually, I wouldn't say break into Electric Lady Studios, but kind of sneak in and end up listening to unreleased tracks with Gene.
Yeah, this is actually Electric Lady was with Steve Harris. Right Track Studios, which doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. Right Track Studios on 48th Street. Quick story. So Tom got an inside word that They were in the studio, this Right Track recording studio in Manhattan. So I love that place. It was a great studio. Anthrax actually recorded there one time. It was awesome. So Tom got the word. We cut out of school. We went downtown on the bus, and we get in front of Right Track Studios. I'm intimidated. I just want to wait there. I don't want to go in. But Tom, the aggressor, balls of steel, man. Balls of steel. He goes, come on, go on. I was like, no, Tom. I'm like, come on, come on, come on. He had this high voice. We both had high voices. No puberty yet. So, come on, come on, come on. So, fucking Tom rings the bell. God bless him. Zzz, Right Track. Yeah, my friend Tom just has the mouth, dude. Yeah, we're here to see Gene. 2 seconds later, zzz, they ring us up. They ring us up. I'm petrified. I'm walking through this. I say this, and we're going to this long hallway to an elevator to go up to the studio. I'm walking like I'm walking through molasses. I can't. I'm so fucking afraid that we're going to get beat up by a security guard or Kiss is going to get mad at us. I'm 15. I'm scared shit. We get up to the studio. We get in the elevator. I'm shivering. Elevator goes up, second floor. Door is open. There's nobody at the desk. The front desk is right there. There's nobody at the desk. Looking around. I'm not going out the fucking elevator. But Tom, of course, first step out. Fuck Tom, right? So he takes the step out. We're looking around. I have to take the step out. We look to our left. There's this wall. But preceding that wall was, you see, 2 cowboy boots with their feet up. There's a TV over there. Somebody's watching TV to the left of us. We look around the wall. It's the one and only Gene Simmons. So I'm going to put the face on that Gene, after he sees Tom and I, who've seen him a lot lately, right? So the Gene is enjoying some cookies right here. He's just watching TV after a take. He's working, so he's relaxing. So he looks up to us, and this was his face. Oh, just a complete sigh. Complete sigh. Because he can't believe that we found our way in there, right? And I feel horrible this time. My friend Tom right away, hey, Gene, with a high voice, hey, Gene, how you doing? He's got a zillion questions. He's just banging away questions. He goes, oh. Gene stops him. He goes, how did you know I'm here? And how would you feel if I came into your living room and bothered you while you're working? He just gave us this whole speech thing that I felt horrible about. I felt really terrible. So of course, after he asked that question, Tommy goes, you can come to my house anytime you want. He just gives one of those answers. So that's Tom. God bless him. I love him. So Gene just gives up at this point. He knows we're there. He goes, he looks at his cookies. Would you like a cookie? Of course, Tom. Yeah, sure. No. Tom grabs a cookie. Tom grabs one of Gene's cookies. So he's understanding that we're diehards, and he's a great person. So he finally gives up. He goes, would you like to hear a track? And it was fucking Christmas time all of a sudden. It's like, would we like to hear a track? Would we like to? Oh my God. Our heads just blew. Gene calls in on the phone, talks to the engineer. Can you make my friends hear Young and Wasted? This song, it was a great song called Young and Wasted. He sends us in, sits us down at the front of the speakers, and just blows our fucking minds. Plays Young and Wasted. We're blown away. It was a great song. We loved it, blah, blah, blah. So we're coming out. And so he goes, so how did you like the song? And we couldn't stop. Oh my God, it was the best song ever. We couldn't stop. 2 kids just going nuts. We heard something that nobody else has heard. So we felt very in the club, So then Gene gives us his final speech. So I've given you everything you want. You've eaten my cookies. I've made you hear a song. Now, can I get back to work? And I was just like, we were on cloud 9, so nothing like, sure, Gene, sure. So we get in the elevator and we go, and that was the time. It was an insane Christmas time, I call it.
There's 2 things about that. One is your Gene Simmons impersonation is really good. I interviewed him about 18 months ago for Bass Player magazine, and it was the freakiest thing in the world. I was sat here at my desk, and my mobile phone goes, and he goes, hi, it's Gene Simmons. And I'm like, fuck, that's the weirdest thing in the world. and he was lovely. And I probably like lovely. You, I've read a lot of interviews where I go, oh, fuck yeah, Gene, just turn it in, mate. Just stop it. But actually, when you talk to him, he was really funny. He was really warm. And I had smart. He's got it all. I mean, really, he's got the whole package. Really, he knows how to do this.
and he kind of plays with it. He kind of plays with it. And that's at this stage, is like he's been through it all,
Yeah.
right? If you think about it, I kind of admire where he's at because he's just reflective. I love the reflective time he's in right now. I love it that he's a great family man. He's a great father, and he's still waving that KISS flag. Come on, man. There's something great about that. It really is.
And the other thing, throughout the whole of the book, you seem to retain that fan mentality.
Yeah.
Like the amount of times you've written. So we were touring with Slayer, and I hung out every night on the stage watching their set. We were touring Pantera, and I hung out every night on the stage watching their set. You don't seem to have lost that. I mean, you see so many bands that sort of like their set's done, they're in the car, they're off, they're going to the next gig before the headliners even come on. But you seem to be just really into it still.
Well, yeah, I am very much into it. And look, we all know, and I've learned this from my brother's passing. We have this much time on this earth, and we don't know about today. We don't know about tomorrow. We all found this with COVID also. I learned this a long time ago, to enjoy the moment. And that sounds cliche, and it is cliche, but I could give a shit. The truth of the matter is I want to enjoy each moment. And the Slayer farewell tour specifically, I remember being on tour with Pantera, staying on the side of the stage. And this is all in the book. There's a lot of great rock and roll stories in the book that I'm very proud of in the book that I put in there. On purpose, because I wanted people to take that ride with me. So I remember even the Slayer side of the stage thing on their farewell tour. It was important to me because that was never going to be again. And enjoy each moment because I have great video and film footage of the last night and the last night I was on tour with them, the dressing rooms that'll never be again, all that great stuff, the Pantera stuff. There's so many great stories that I have, and I put some of them in the book that are just great fond memories that I'm taking you with me, like almost like you're a fly on the wall. That was important to me. And I learned never take it for granted because it could be gone tomorrow, as bands do. It could break up, whatever, things disappear. And I learned, like, you better enjoy it now. And I do that with everything now because I don't know about tomorrow. I don't think any of us do. If we think we do, you're not being honest.
Yeah, I've got a great Kerry King story.
Go for it.
So I used to run a big music event at a place called the NEC in Birmingham.
Sure, of course.
And Kerry came over a couple of times actually. And the first time he came over, obviously I'd never met him before, and he was on the BC Rich stand signing autographs. It's like a mini NAMM type thing. And so he's signing autographs all day on the BC Rich stand, which was brilliant. And then we head over to the hotel after the show's closed and everything. Everybody's in the bar, and I can see Kerry talking to my sponsor, the managing director of the sponsor's company. And I'm like, fantastic. I'm going to go over, do the show manager thing. I'm going to say, thank you for coming over from America to do the show, Kerry. Thank you for sponsoring the event, Pat. And I walk over, and they're talking soft furnishings, which is not what I wanted from Kerry King.
That's you see, it's funny because I'm pretty tight with Kerry. And actually, he just moved here. He just moved to New York.
Oh, right.
Because of COVID, we haven't gotten together yet, but we will. We've been planning on it. So, but he just literally moved to 30 minutes from me, which is awesome. So I plan to take part in that when we could. But yeah, I mean, he's just a good dude, man. He's a buddy, and he's just a normal dude. He's got that exterior look, but he's just a good guy. I get along with him pretty well. So.
Just to bring us back round, I've been thinking while you've been talking about how badly done to I was at missing out on the KISS thing. But I've actually realised that I got it. For me, it was Star Wars. It was Star Wars for me. That was the thing. That was the thing that took me away somewhere else.
I get it.
And obviously, for 5, 6, 7 years, I wanted to be Luke Skywalker and then I realised that was stupid, absolutely stupid, because it was obviously Han Solo, and it's been Han Solo ever since. How naive was I?
I know, but I agree with you. For me, it always was Han Solo.
Yeah. Well, you were that bit older, you see. Yeah, you got it straight away. I had to work my way through to that.
Yeah, well,
Oh,
he had that stud. That he was a stud. He was a
Oh,
stud
oh,
he had it. Look at Princess Leia. She was drooling over him. It was all good. I loved all that
yeah.
stuff. But I see. I leave it there with the Star Wars whole thing. I haven't gotten into any of the newer stuff, like the whole Boba Fett thing. I haven't gotten into any of that. Um, I don't know. I held those first films so sacred to. They're so sacred to me right now. But eventually, I'll later on in life, I'll get into the newer stuff, I
Well,
guess.
if you do nothing else, because I'm
Go
quite
ahead.
addicted, so I've watched them all. Watch Rogue One, because Rogue
Okay.
One takes place just before Star Wars chronologically, and it looks like
Okay.
Star Wars, and it's possibly the best Star Wars film ever made, and it's not one of the actual official
Okay.
films.
Not sure if I've seen that, but I'll check it out. I'll go through it again. Why not? It's a night out.
Yeah. Check out Rogue One. It's really brilliant, and it looks the same. So it feels like Star Wars and looks like Star Wars, and it's set just before Star Wars. In fact, the two films actually link. The end of Rogue One is literally the point when Star Wars starts.
Okay, I will do this. See that I call it a night out, but I mean a night out from now is in my living room.
Yes.
That's a night out. It's pretty pathetic.
Yes. Well, we probably should knock it on the head because it's.
oh no! I've got one more question.
Oh, go on then. Go on then. It's not about Kiss, is it?
No, it's not about
Right.
Kiss. No, it's not about Kiss. It's about the acting.
Oh, yeah, we've got to mention the acting.
Sure.
It's specifically the film that you did, which was Greetings from Tim Buckley,
Yeah.
where you played Richard Hell.
Yeah.
And now, did you kind of was Richard involved? Did you hang out with Richard or anything? Because
No.
it must be quite weird to do someone who's still living.
Absolutely. For me, I just had to do a lot of background, a lot of research on it because I knew about him. I didn't know about him. You know what I mean? I was familiar, but I had to dig in when I got the role because even when I auditioned, because I wanted to know more about what I was talking about and all that. And I went into it, and then when I got the film, I talked to Dan Algrant, the director, and he gave me some stuff to sink in on, and I did, and it was great. It was fun. It was a whole history lesson, which was cool, and I'm glad I did that. I'm glad I could to dig in like I did because I thought it was important because I kind of just wanted to give it justice, and I know, and you know, I don't want him to be upset with the portrayal either. So I kind of played it as well as I could with him.
Yeah, because I'd read that you played CBGB, I think, with Anthrax, and I was like, and he was so sort of integral to that sort of like 70s scene of it. I wondered if your paths had ever sort of crossed, really.
Never met Rich. I wish I would have. But you know, it's funny when you say that whole 70s thing. See, I love, you know, I sound like an old man right now. I am an old man. But the 70s, you hit it on the head for me. It was a special, special time, not only for music, but I bring this in the book about New York. It was a more gritty time for New York, as you guys have seen the pictures and a lot of film work back then. Scorsese did a number of amazing movies. I know it was dangerous. I know it was seedy. I know all of the above. But what there was then was there was some character there. There was character. Now you've been to Manhattan recently, like you just said. It's completely different, as you know. It's completely different than what it was, or the vibe. Those great, even the storefronts, even these mom and pop shops, these great places to play, they're all condos now. They're all gutted out, and they're all really beautiful, expensive condos. They look beautiful, but there's really no reason to go down there now. You know, that's what bothers me.
I find the same. You know, I mean, Birmingham is not the same as New York, but it's the second biggest city in Britain.
Sure.
And that the Birmingham city centre that I grew up in like the late 70s and in the 80s, and particularly the 80s when I was going to clubs and blah blah blah, was dirty, gritty, seedy, vaguely violent at times.
Yeah.
And now it looks like any other Euro city. All the shops are exactly the same because they're all the same chains everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, any little cool clothes shop has been shut down and now it's a coffee shop, or like you say, it's been turned into apartment blocks or something. And it's just like, and I understand, like you said in the book, that, you know, it's better that there's no crime and violence and stuff like that. It just doesn't feel like home.
You couldn't have said it better. For me, it's the exact thing. It's not home, and there's the grittiness. There was a character to it. It built people. It put the personality of people that lived in that area. Those characters were needed. They're needed in life. They're needed as songwriters, as writers of books, as actors. Those seedy things, they build character, and I don't think that's there now. I don't. When I see it now, it looks like bland. It just looks bland to me, and it kind of bums me out because I love a good New York story. A good New York story is always going to hit me at the heart. And I'm finding myself having to go back to 70s books and movies and just to kind of relive that stuff. Because when I go down there, as I recently was, I couldn't believe it was Disneyland. It was fucking Disney. It was Disneyland, and nothing wrong with Disneyland, but not in New York. Not there should be specific areas for that. Not kind of everywhere. Like the money came in and just like whitewashed the whole thing and just took all that character out, and it kind of bothers me. I worry about what's coming out. That's why people are going back to the older music now, because where are the writers going to come from if they have nowhere to get their inspiration from?
There was something about the sort of late 70s, maybe a little bit of the early 80s, but there was something about, I don't know what film they used, and by that I literally mean the film that went in the cameras, but it suited New York. You know how you see some stuff from like the late 60s where it seemed to suit, the colours seemed to suit the West Coast.
Yes.
And you got all that Beach Boys vibe, and it all came across in the colours, and there's all that real vividness. And there was something about the fact that film in the late 70s had this kind of almost like it needed a clean.
That's a great point.
And so the film at the time seemed to suit. Mm-hmm. And you think of all those great films that were set in either London or that were set in New York in the late, in the late 70s, and all the stuff, and we had also, and like everything at that point meshed, and it's like that's the bit of New York that we think about when we think of New York.
Right. Like when you think about New York now, I mean, like I live here now. I rarely go to Manhattan. I used to go to Manhattan quite a lot, and I don't find the reason. There's no reason. Nothing's drawing me there. There's no great record. There's probably one or two, maybe, record stores that I love. They've all closed down. I mean, there's so many. It was my place to grow up. It really was my training. It was my training place, and I just found that so much money came in, and just really, so many people wanted to live here that people were listening, and they took out why people wanted to live here.
Yeah,
they really did take out why people wanted to live here, and it bums me out. So when I go down there, it's a quick visit. It's like I'll bring my wife to a show or something in the Disneyland that is Broadway now.
Yeah,
and that is true.
No, I get it. The one place I find still has it for me, still has that edge, is Berlin. That's the place I still think's got awesome. That grime and that edge. Yeah, and as is still scarred by its past as well. You can feel it, you can sense it when you're there.
Yeah, it's right there. It's right there. And the edge is a great word for Berlin. I love that. Yeah, that's where I love Berlin. We've had some great times there, man.
Yeah. Frank, thank you. It's been fantastic. I can't believe an hour and a quarter has flown by.
I have to, guys, I'm really sorry about being late on this with the internet stuff. It's very unprofessional of me.
Not a problem.
Not a problem in the slightest. It's just been an absolute joy, and thank you very much.
The payoff was well worth it. I think I'm totally I can't believe we talked that long. It doesn't feel like it, but thank you.
No, and to be honest, I think your publicist is wrong. I think it's fine to let people know that you've been doing some new stuff on a new album. I think that's fine.
I'll tell her that.
Yeah, just let her know. I mean, what does she honestly think? What do people think you've been doing for the last 2 years? I mean, of course you've been writing a new album. Of course you have.
Better be doing something, that's for sure.
Yeah. Frank, it's been a joy. We must, just before we go, must also thank our sponsors, Focusrite, who sponsored the podcast. Sure. Do you use any Focusrite gear, Frank?
No, but if you want to send me some, I'm
I was going to suggest they did. So shout out to Focusrite. You need to send Frank some gear.
I'm ready.
Yeah, he's demoing new stuff, so come on.
Yeah, he's working on a new album, yeah.
I'm working on a record. I'm working on a lot of music here, guys. So let's
There's an album credit coming, Focusrite, if you get yourself sorted. But thanks to everybody at Focusrite for all their continued support, which is great. And Frank, hopefully we'll see you back end of the year.
In a pub?
In a pub and on stage, both.
Oh, yeah, well, let's do that too.
We want both. And Jace, I guess I'll see you next time.
Yeah, see you, mate.
Cheers.
Cheers, boys.
Thanks for listening to 9 to 42, the podcast from the team at the Guitar Show UK. If you've enjoyed the show, then please remember to hit the subscribe button and share with other like-minded souls. For more information about 9 to 42, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram at the Guitar Show UK. This has been an A Short Stories production.